All right, welcome to the show, y'all. Welcome. So, in just a second, we're going to talk about how the American empire is officially cooked. It's over. It's done. And it's not coming back. And we're screwed. So buckle up for that one. That should be good. We have the professor and economist and expert Richard Wolff talks about that in great detail. So we'll dive into that. We'll also get to MAGA voters squirming to defend Trump's brazen, open corruption, including Sloppy Steve, by the way. We got that on video. It's from The Guardian. And then we'll get to the single worst defense of a genocide I've ever seen in my life, brought to us by Coleman Hughes, who, of course, is, I like to think of him as the young black Sam Harris. That's what he is. That's how he fancies himself, too, I think. And he works for the Free Press, which is Barry Weiss's outlet. So genocide denial is kind of their thing. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Then we'll get to John Oliver is seemingly out of fucks to give. Elizabeth Warren is schooling the smug Zoran haters on CNBC to their face. And then later on, Mark Maron is calling out the entire Rogan sphere, which is a lot of fun. You don't want to miss that clip. So you guys know the drill. Everybody do me a big favor. Subscribe to the channel. That helps out big time and costs you nothing at all. And much love, in fact, extra love, some might say, to those of you who support the show on Patreon. $2 a month, $5 a month, $7 a month, whatever it is. Or if you tip with that button on YouTube, that also is a huge deal. Helps out a lot. I've never talked to an advertiser, never done an ad read. This is true independent media. You guys make that possible. I'm very thankful for you because of that. Also, if you'd like to sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack, we got some awesome episodes coming up. You don't want to miss those. And subscribe to the Corin's World YouTube channel where we're doing live Kyle and Corn episodes on Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You don't want to miss that. Come hang out with us. We're trying to get him to 100,000 subs for his channel. We're also trying to get to 1,000 live viewers. Right now, I think we're at like around 300 or so. So come hang out with us Monday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Kyle and Corn live. Don't miss it. All right, let's go ahead and dive into this, y'all. So here we have the economist and professor and expert Richard Wolff, and he lays out for us how, bro, it's already over. Like, let's stop kidding ourselves. Let's stop beating around the bush. The fact of the matter is, the U.S. empire's cooked. It's cooked. It's a wrap. We're done. We're done. Now, we might have this image in our head like, oh, we're on the decline, but maybe we can turn it around. But that's all just pure cope. Like, there's nothing to that. It's already over. So here we go. Let's watch and then we'll break it down.
The American empire is over. We're done. We peaked about 12, 15 years ago, and we are on a down. And it's very hard for the American people, which I understand. I am one. It's hard to get your head around that. We've had a century of on the way up, which is a lot more fun than on the way down. But it does happen to every empire. We're only the latest. Look at the British, how far they've fallen. We're in that process. So the problem with the trickle down is, there might be more jobs, but they're going to be created in China. They're going to be created in Brazil. They're going to be created in India. They're not created here. The best electric vehicles in the world right now, but by uniform global agreement, are produced by something called the BYD Corporation, which probably most folks have never heard of, which is Chinese. BYD, the initials, BYD. They make the best quality, cheapest electric car and truck. All right. You don't see them anywhere in the United States. Why not? Because Mr. Trump put a 27% tariff on them, and Mr. Biden raised it to 100%.
And people will be forced to buy U.S. stuff.
Right.
Which then creates U.S. jobs, which again stimulates the economy.
All right, let me be the economist. Okay? That's good for the Tesla company, which I'm sure is purely coincidental, and GM and Ford and the others. Good. And they'll maybe be able to hold on to some jobs. Good. But now let's follow the bouncing ball, because that's my job as an economist. Yeah. Everywhere else in the world, every company in Asia, Africa, Latin America that competes with an American company that has to buy a truck as part of its business will go to China and buy the best truck at the lowest price, $30,000, the best truck. No American company that competes with them will do that. And you know what that means? Those companies will be able to charge a lower price because they have better inputs than the American company, which doesn't. In the long run, that will lose Americans' jobs left and right as they're outcompeted by all the rest of the world that can go and buy and is buying BYD trucks. If you go to Europe right now and you go on the auto routes all over Europe, you'll see BYD cars and trucks. America is shooting itself in the foot. If you take the United States together with the other G7 countries, that used to be the dominant bloc of the world, right? The United States, let's just enumerate them so everybody knows. Canada, Japan, Germany, France, Italy, and Britain, okay? The G7, and I'm going to add up all the GDP, gross domestic product, total output of goods and services of all of those 7 countries, U.S. and its major allies. And now I'm going to compare it to the gross added up GDPs of China and its allies, known now as the BRICS. Okay. You add up the United States, about 28% of world output. You add up China and the BRICS, it's 35% of the world output. We aren't the wealthiest bloc in the world. We're number 2. And that's new. And that changes everything. And you can rattle your sabers all over the place. You put the 7th Fleet in the South China Sea. Isn't going to change that. You've got to come to terms with that. But we are led by people who don't want to do that, because nobody wants to be the politician who has to explain to the people it's over.
Damn. And Trump is doing everything to speed this process up, too, by the way. When you decide to launch a trade war against all of our allies, what you're doing is making it so that now in their minds, they go, I don't know, dog, the U.S. is acting kind of crazy. They're acting kind of psychotic. They're tariffing us even though we're allies with them and we trade with them all the time. And that's pretty gross. That's pretty sick. So, I don't know, maybe I'm better off working around the U.S., going to other countries that are not going to fucking tariff us and that are good to their word and they don't violate their word all willy-nilly when they're in the mood to. Maybe it makes sense to work closer with China, for example. Like, these are the things people are thinking now and people are saying now, and the chickens are coming home to roost. It really is that simple. And when you look at, like, so the trade war is one thing, which is just absolutely cooking us and isolating us from the rest of the world. You also have our belligerence and our bombing campaigns in Yemen and Somalia and Iran and arming and funding a genocide that the Israelis are doing and doubling and tripling down on that. But then you also have the war on scientific research and the war on medical research and the war on foreign students, for example. They basically shut down foreign students from coming in this country and then decided, oh, we'll let them back in, but now you have to let us go through all of your social media to make sure you're not saying anything we don't like. Well, this is what leads to what's called brain drain, right? So the idea of like the best and the brightest coming to the U.S., to our universities, to work for companies here, now that trend is going to reverse and people are going to have no interest, because now you're thinking, I don't want people going through my social media and trying to come after me for whatever my political opinions are. You know, why would you? I don't want to show up at the U.S. and then they say, we're going to send you to Alligator Auschwitz, or we're going to send you to Guantanamo Bay, or we're going to send you to CCOP, the Supermax Gulag that's in El Salvador, or we're going to send you to any of the other makeshift concentration camps that they're building right now as they loot FEMA to do so. So, you know, people are worried now. If you're a foreigner and you come in the country, you're worried. Like, are they going to let me in? Are they going to hold me in a cell? Is ICE going to, violate my rights? People are worried about that stuff now, and rightfully so. And so, if you stop and think about where we're at militarily, you stop and think about where we're at economically, you stop and think about where we're at when it comes to our immigration policy, we're putting up a giant middle finger to the rest of the world. And the rest of the world will put up a giant middle finger right back to us. And then the other part of it, and he touches on this a little bit, is how intelligent China is moving, where they keep making alliances. They keep adding people to BRICS. They keep, the U.S., we were like, you'll become part of our trade block at the barrel of a gun, right? That's the vibe that we give off, is like, you're going to trade with us because we're the only game in town, right? Whereas with China, I mean, we're talking about the opposite, right? We're talking about, hey, we'll come and build some infrastructure in your place, and then we'll make a deal for involving your natural resources. And this is the evolution of empire, right? This is the evolution of how an empire functions. It used to be pure, raw, belligerent force. We're coming in, we're taking you over. You have no say in the matter. Think of the British Empire, right? The sun never set on the British Empire. Then the U.S.'s evolution was, we're going to do effectively the same thing, but the difference is, instead of putting one of our people in your country to rule it as like a foreign tyrant, we're going to bribe basically somebody from your own country to sell out to us to give us whatever the hell we want, right? But that was an evolution, because now you have, a foreign, at-home face that covers up the dirty deeds being done. Well, now China took it a step further and said, well, what if we just give you aid? What if we just give you support? What if we just build your infrastructure out? Then you're going to want to do business with us, right? And then the U.S. steps in and says, okay, well, what if all these people who are our allies, all these countries that are our allies, what if I tariff them for no fucking reason? I've said this 1,000 times, but it's almost like he's destroying. I wouldn't know the difference if he was purposely trying to destroy the U.S. or was being incompetent. Like, whatever you want to attribute it to. You want to attribute it to him being the dumbest person on the planet? Okay, that's fine, right? But there's fundamentally no difference in his actions between this and actively trying to destroy the United States of America. And so that's the extra disturbing part about it. So to Richard Wolff's point, it's over, dog. It's a wrap. It's done. There's no coming back from this. Because, and here's the thing, even if you have a very bright, a very intelligent Democratic president who comes in there, who tries to fix a lot of the mess that was created, first of all, that's more than a 4-year job. That's more than an 8-year job. Second of all, the world's going to look at a Democrat here and go, I mean, I want to do business with you. I want to smooth sailing with the U.S. and have us be top allies again and trading partners again. But how do I know that now the next time a Republican wins the election, that the Republican is not going to go right back to the Trump policy of putting up middle fingers to the rest of the world? And so it's no longer in the interest of any other country to work with us, to, rely on us. I mean, stop and think about it. Trump renegotiated NAFTA to the USMCA. That's our trade deal with Canada and Mexico. Then Trump gets in there for his second term, and he takes a look at that deal and goes, this is stupid. Who did this deal? I'm not going to abide by this deal. I'm going to tariff Canada. Bro, that was your deal. You made that deal. What is this? He pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement, right? This was something that we're supposed to abide by our treaties. Our word is supposed to matter. He pulled out of the Iran agreement, the Iran nuclear agreement. You go down the list. He just decides, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to abide by that. And it's like, okay, but then you can't be pissed off when the rest of the world goes, you're no longer the leader. You're no longer the superpower because your word is fucking useless. Your word is useless. How can we trust you? How can you lead us when you change your mind from one day to the next? If you make an agreement and the next day you decide you're not going to abide by it, we have come to expect that now. So why would we get in bed with you? There's no reason to get in bed with you. And that's where we're at. And so Trump is just speeding up the process right in front of our eyes. But honestly, the wheels have been in motion for quite a while. And you could argue that the wheels started, maybe they started moving just a little bit under Jimmy Carter because he started with the move towards neoliberalism. But really, the wheels definitely started moving during the Reagan administration. And from then on, it's been a disaster. I mean, probably our last chance to fix the situation. You could argue it was the 2000 election when they stole it for George W. Bush. If Al Gore won that election, we wouldn't have had the Iraq War. It definitely would have been a different scenario. We'd be in a much better place. But certainly, like, the last-ditch effort was probably Bernie Sanders. That was like, in 2016, that was like our last chance of like, hey, can we really course correct here and fix everything and stop us from imminent and rapid decline? And the answer is no. We couldn't stop ourselves from that. We're in the midst of it right now. Here's just one example that I wanted to show you guys as to how bad it's gotten. Look at this. This was floating around Twitter the other day. Estimated percentage of 30-year-olds who are both married and homeowners from 1950 to 2025. As you can see here, in 1950, it was more than 50% of 30-year-olds. More than 50%, more than half, were married and they were homeowners, right? Now that number is, what, 7%, 8%, something like that? We went from, let's call it 53, 54% down to 8%. What does that say? Somewhere along the line, you done fucked up. Somewhere along the line, you screwed the pooch. And a lot of it, by the way, has to do with the Supreme Court decisions that allowed money in politics. So now our government just represents the billionaires. It just represents the corporations. Doesn't care at all what the public thinks, what the constituents think. That's a huge part of it as well. The turn towards neoliberalism, all that stuff is super important. But again, this is just one example. I mean, we could also bring up the, trillions of dollars being stolen by the top 1% from the bottom 90%, like that Rand Corporation study shows. I think the number now is up to what, like 90 trillion, some preposterously high number that the top 1% has stolen from the bottom 90%. So basically, if you just kept the wealth distribution the same as it was in like the 1970s, then right now, every American would have an extra $1,100 per month, every year for the rest of your life. That's how out of whack it is. That's how much the income and wealth inequality is completely and utterly out of control, and that's how cooked the empire is. The empire ain't striking back, dog. The empire is about to curl up in a fetal position and die a quick death. That's what we're witnessing. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.